Welcome back, curious collectors, everyday treasure hunters, and sharp-eyed viewers to Rare Coin Legacy, the place where the smallest coins carry the biggest secrets, and where modern pocket change can rewrite everything you think you know about money. Because today we are diving into one of the most controversial and astonishing modern numismatic stories ever discussed, the unbelievable idea that a 2019 1-cent coin, a penny that most people still ignore, toss aside, or leave forgotten in drawers, could under very specific and extremely rare circumstances reach a staggering value of $13 million due to an extraordinary convergence of minting errors, production mistakes, experimental conditions, timing anomalies, and collector-driven scarcity that together create a perfect storm of value. A storm so intense that it pushes a humble modern cent into the same financial universe as legendary coins, fine art masterpieces, and rare historical artifacts. And to understand how this is even possible, you must first understand that 2019 was not an ordinary year for the United States Mint, because it marked the final chapter of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse Cent, a design that had been used since 1959 and was about to be replaced by the Union Shield Reverse, which meant that production pressure, die usage, and design transition planning were all happening simultaneously, creating conditions where mistakes could and did slip through, and when design endings, material studies, and high output collide, the probability of rare errors quietly increases, especially in facilities like Philadelphia and Denver that were striking billions of coins under immense efficiency demands. And one of the most explosive possibilities behind a $13,002,019 cent is the presence of a transitional metal composition error. Because while all 2019 cents were officially struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, the Mint was actively researching alternative compositions and coatings due to ongoing cost concerns, and experimental blanks, rejected test planchets, or improperly segregated materials can occasionally remain within Mint facilities, and if even a microscopic number of non-standard planchets were accidentally introduced into circulation presses during maintenance, calibration, or testing, the resulting coins would be fundamentally unique, differing in weight, density, acoustic ring, magnetic response, and long-term aging, and history proves that such accidents do happen, as seen with past transitional errors that now rank among the most valuable modern coins ever sold. But composition is only the foundation of this story, because collectors believe that the hypothetical $13,002,019 cent would almost certainly feature a true double die obverse, created not during striking but during die hubbing, where the design was impressed more than once at slightly misaligned positions, producing strong and unmistakable doubling in the date numerals, thickened and separated letters in Liberty, and dramatic duplication in In God We Trust, doubling that cannot be dismissed as mechanical vibration and that remains visible even after years of circulation. And true double dies from modern years are already rare due to improved die-making technology, which means that any confirmed 2019 double die obverse would immediately attract global attention. But the value skyrockets when such a double die is combined with additional major errors on the same coin, because the numismatic world does not simply add rarity, it multiplies it, and one of those multipliers is severe die deterioration, something that became increasingly common in the late 2010s as the Mint pushed dies beyond ideal usage limits to reduce costs, resulting in collapsing fields, distorted lettering, mushy details, and dramatic metal flow that reshapes Lincoln's portrait in strange and visually striking ways. And extreme die deterioration can produce raised ridges, distorted jawlines, swollen letters, and texture changes that make a coin look almost sculpted rather than struck. And when such deterioration occurs alongside a double die, the result is a one-of-a-kind artifact that can never be replicated, because each failing die degrades in its own unique pattern. And then comes the possibility of major die breaks and retained cuts, where pieces of the die actually fracture and remain partially attached, creating large raised blobs of metal on the coin surface that interrupt the design, sometimes covering parts of Lincoln's head, the date, or the rim, and retain cut errors of dramatic size are already highly collectible, but when found on a modern cent that also shows doubling and composition anomalies, they push the coin into elite territory. But the error chain does not stop there, because some of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered owe their status to multi-strike errors, situations where a planchet fails to eject properly and is struck more than once, sometimes at different rotations or offsets, creating overlapping designs, rotated impressions, or partial blockage effects where the design of one coin is impressed into another, and while modern presses are designed to prevent this, failures still occur, especially during jams or sensor malfunctions, and a 2019 set with a dramatic, well-centered multi-strike that still preserves identifiable design elements would be visually breathtaking, the kind of coin that instantly commands attention in auctions and exhibitions, and adding to this complexity is the potential for extreme die clash evidence, where obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring ghostly impressions of Lincoln's portrait onto the reverse or elements of the Lincoln Memorial onto the obverse. And although minor die clashes are fairly common, extreme clashes that leave bold mirrored outlines are rare and visually striking, especially in modern coinage where tolerances are tighter. And when such clashes appear alongside other major errors, the coin becomes a textbook example of cascading mint failure. But perhaps the most fascinating and controversial possibility behind the $13 million valuation is the idea that a 2019 cent could have been struck on a wrong planchet entirely, such as a foreign coin blank, an experimental alloy test piece, or even a blank intended for another denomination, because the mint produces multiple coin types simultaneously, and while strict controls exist, history shows that wrong planchet errors continue to escape into circulation, and a 2019 cent struck on an incorrect blank with dramatically different thickness, diameter, or composition would be instantly recognizable and extraordinarily rare, especially if the strike were strong and centered. And mint mark location also plays a role in desirability, because certain facilities develop reputations for specific types of errors due to their machinery and production environment, and a unique error tied to a specific mint and year can become even more desirable if that combination has no known parallels, and condition is the final amplifier, because while many error coins survive in worn or damaged states, the hypothetical $13,002,019 cent would need to be preserved in exceptional condition, ideally uncirculated, with crisp surfaces, minimal contact marks, and clear visibility of all error diagnostics. Because high-end collectors are not simply buying rarity, they are buying impact. They want a coin that instantly tells its story the moment it is seen, and authentication is the final and most critical step. Because only coins certified by top-tier grading services with detailed error attributions can command prices in the millions, and once such a coin is confirmed, the market dynamic changes completely.